Hey, hey guys, it's Fnatic here. Fnatic 10149 here reporting in. Today, Dying Light 2 has dropped another patch, and these should be going over what we know. I'm gonna be going over what you need to know and what information and what patch notes are out right now. This is the current version I'm on right now, 1.7. I updated it and a lot has changed from the HUD to the gameplay to the zombie. Basically, a lot has changed from the last time I played Dying Light 2 as a regular stream, like basically as a chill stream. Last time I streamed it, the version was 1.6, and I did notice a few differences coming up with the HUD and the gameplay of the general aspects on its own. So today I will be going over the entire list of the patch notes that have been released, starting off with the first one, the story progression fixes. Now, the story progression basically in the older versions of the game there were a few bugs and glitches that were basically game breaking, and the first bugs that I would always run into were the death loop bugs, or I did run into one death loop bug, and then I had to reset my save again for that one, which was an. I didn't run into that one as much, but that has been fixed. All death loop bugs has been patched and fixed, which means you will no longer be able to run into any death loop bugs, and you will be able to experience the game better. The second one is fixed blocks in multiple quests, basically meaning if you're blocked on anything, you will no longer experience any haltering progressions in the game, which is a good thing. Now you can experience the story and not get taken out of the immersion of it. The third thing is the safe zones. I have ran into this bug at least 3 times, and not 2 times at least, most likely. I lost count. And basically what the safe zone glitch did to me was it broke the day and night cycle and prevented me from sleeping. In the game of Dying Light 2, sleeping in safe zones is the only way of being able to time skip to either the day if you want to be able to do missions a lot easier, and then if you want to do grinding or making runs to the GRE zones to grab whatever you need, then you can sleep to skip to the night. And once this bug glitched into your game save, it broke all of the safe zones. You couldn't do anything to fix it, and the only known way of doing it was to hop into a public game, which means if you couldn't figure out a way to fix it, you're shit out of luck. You're gonna need to reset your save. And with this patch now being fixed, the best thing is now you can actually manage to sleep in safe zones without the fear of your game being lost and then you stuck on whatever you're stuck on. And I'm pretty happy that they did fix the safe zones, because now I won't have to worry about those anymore. Now, co-op fixes I'm going to be a bit bumpy about, because I don't play co-op. I mainly love playing this type of game on my own because it helps. It's really fun to do it on my own. And to be honest, I just enjoy the immersion I get by being alone, because when I'm playing with other people, I mainly just do whatever. And one of them is the stability issues. Being in a co-op game in the old versions had stability problems, which means you couldn't do as much without lagging, glitches, or any of that. Numerous story progression blocks fixed, which is going back to the other patch, which was the quest being blocked, which means now you should be able to play the entirety of Dying Light 2 without any interruptions and or game-breaking bugs that could possibly end up completely haltering your progression. The third bugs, the third bug that has been patched is the invites. Sometimes the invites would not go through whenever you were inviting people to play your game, which means you would have to figure out a way to do it. Now, this does help because, like I said, co-op and all that. So let's move on to the fourth. Challenging issues fixed. No weapon when inventory full. Difficulty balance improved. Tools requirement properly handled. which means now all of these that I just went over, the challenging issues fixed, no weapon when inventory full, difficulty balance, which means whenever you're playing co-op, the difficulty will now tweak to whatever PR you're on, depending on where you are. Fixed co-op parties spawning in different distant places. But now whenever you join into a co-op game, from what I read, you should now be spawning in right next to the person you're joining instead of being teleported somewhere even farther away, which means you will no longer have to trek a long distance or have to waste a bit more time just fast forwarding or fast traveling to the person you need to get to. The next one is improved fixed replication of open world activities, windmills, hanging cages, loot chests, NPC rescue instances. Issues, which means now you will no longer experience duplicated of whatever you're looking at, I believe. Fixed enemies and players falling through the ground in certain situations. I did run into, I believe, a few of those a few times. I never really actually ran into it, but basically this should help if you're in a combat situation or you actually need, or you're fighting and then the enemy just ends up disappearing and you don't get the kill, quote unquote. I now remember I did run into this because the GRE anomaly when I was fighting one of them was actually somehow managed to Harry Potter his way through a fucking building and end up leaving the zone we were fighting in. I don't know what happened. He probably dipped the minute his health low and he said, nope, I'm out. But it's whatever. It's fixed now and I'm happy about that. And then several performance drops fixed, basically meaning you should be running, the co-op situation should be running a lot smoother than before. You will not experience anything rough. Now, to the Night Runners, this is what I'm going to show you. This is why I did not want to do any combat. I wanted to show you something. The Night Runner tools have been fixed. The grappling hooked has actually been nerfed. In some of my live streams, you saw me using the grappling hook, and my best friend jinxed this as well, by the way. He said that I jinxed it, actually, because I was on the phone with him at one point, and I said they're gonna fucking nerf this shit because they see me abusing it. They didn't nerf it because I was abusing it. They nerfed it to make it feel more realistic. And the Night Runner tools have been fixed to where the paraglider and grappling hook upgrades can be applied correctly for players that obtain them during cooperative sessions. Which means now you should be getting them throughout the cooperative. 1 second. Alright, so I don't know if there's a... So basically, what this means now is that the grappling hook, it no longer pulls you in as much. Which means you can no longer cheat your way through anything. You can no longer... And I'm not kidding either. I am literally not moving my thumbstick and it is not pulling me up anymore. Which means now the grappling hook actually feels like a grappling hook and you cannot cheat your way through any more buildings. I have done that a few times to not do the parkour, but I'm kind of glad, to be honest. They did nerf it because the grappling hook, when you got it to level 3, did take away most of the parkour spectrum because you could literally just hop over any obstacle using the grappling hook and just avoid any parkour in general. The important combat improvements, the improvements that have been made. Improved biter behavior during the day. Now they will know the enemy latches onto the players more frequently, which diversifies enemy encounters, which means the biters during the day no longer act as if they were fucking tired. They will, as soon as they see you, they will now become even more aggressive as before and actually try to take you down. They act more aggressive, which is a good thing. They actually make you think they're a threat. The next thing is the performance of blunt weapons. Performance of blunt weapons have been improved to reflect the weight of the weapon, which means if you have a blunt weapon like, let's say, this hammer, the construction hammer, now you can tell that it's taking a lot to swing it, and it actually does a lot to the enemies. You can actually tell that it hurts them. it no longer makes it feel like as if you're not doing anything but fucking bashing them over the head with the toy hammer, which is really cool. Improved enemy reaction depending on the type of weapon to better reflect the weight of the weapon. Which means the enemy will now react to whatever weapon you're holding, making it feel as if you're actually fighting a person. I don't know if this just applies to zombies, but it could. I'm pretty sure this mainly was applied for humans, because humans are the AI that adjusts to you. They adjust to whatever attack you're doing. So I'm pretty sure this is mainly applied to them. The next thing is human opponents can now block players' attacks during the light hit reaction time, which means the enemies will no longer sit there and you can no longer spam attack any enemies. They actually block you if you try to. Light hit reactions for human enemies have been shortened, which means, like I said from before, you can no longer spam attack any enemy and get away with it. They will actually manage to regain themselves and actually defend. New ragdolls behaviors. Opponents enter ragdolls more often, which means now whenever they enter, which means they will no longer stay on their 2 feet. They will actually act as if they feel more humanized, or humanized. Which means now if you hit a zombie and you send it flying, it will actually be in ragdoll mode. It will not actually stand its ground. Ragdoll works more naturally, basically meaning that it just works more frequently than before. Ragdoll behaves differently depending on the weapon type. So let's say you're using a sledgehammer and you bash and basically what this means is now you will send zombies. Basically you will most likely send a zombie flying instead of having it stay on its 2 feet. Basically like that. And I am being blown up. Next patch is going to be appropriate forces are applied when falling from height and when hitting different parts of the body while maintaining the force given from the direction of the blow. What this means is now whatever area you're getting hit from, your character will flinch in said direction you are being hit from. So let's say I'm facing to the right, you get it from the right, you're facing behind. Basically what this means is no matter where you're aiming or wherever you're looking, the force will now be applied to the direction you are facing. I'm gonna throw that there because I don't want them following me yet. I need to do something. I need to get up on this roof real quick. Alright, let me duck here real quick so I can finish reading. Alright. When a ragdoll collides with its surroundings, the appropriate sound and effects are played depending on the surface of body it falls on. So if it falls in the water, it'll most definitely make a water noise. If it hits probably a wall, thudding, anything soft, probably barely. It's probably just a regular. So I don't really know. But basically, you can now hear the enemy hitting something instead of just hearing silent noise. Improved spikes detection. The enemy is now always stamped on the spikes after a hit. Additionally, spikes audio feedback is now improved and the new FXs were added. Displayed based on the body's physical momentum, which means now the spikes act like spikes, and if you throw an enemy into one of them, their body will stay in that direction. Night improvements and balance. This is the perfect opportunity to show you guys this, because it is now nighttime. Howler's senses range has been increased, which means you can no longer simply run away from them and have them keep in your sight. This means if you are near a howler and it can actually see you, it'll most definitely sense you and be able to howl. Which means now you have to actually run even farther or get out of its sight a lot quicker. So let me go find a howler and show you guys. As you can see, there is a lot to discuss because these are a lot of good patch notes. Because as you can see over here, a howler is right there in front of me. So basically it can still see me. I am in its line of sight still. And basically now they can sense me even farther away. Which means they can sense me from this far away now. I am still in its line of sight and it can actually still howl at me. Next one is probably the chase, which I'm on now. The chase is triggered when a howler is hit by a ranged weapon and is still alive. Yes. Basically now I cannot get away with hitting a howler any longer. If it's on the ground, it will still howl and make the enemies well aware that you are there. Volatiles come out of hiding spots faster during the chase. Volatiles will now be able to immediately come out of hiding, and there will not be any delay if you are on level 4 of chase. Level 3 to 4 of chase is when the volatiles come out. Now the next one is level 4 of the chase is now difficult. So I'm gonna do a bit of killing, and I'm gonna show you guys exactly what I mean by this is a lot more difficult. So let me go find a safe zone. It's behind me. Let me go find, I'm gonna go over here real quick and then I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. So let me go ahead and dash. And as you can see, the button response for the dash has been improved and fixed, because now my character will not stop running, because when I push down on the button to enter a dash, my character would stop after a minute. So that is a good thing too, because now I can continuously dash without having any worries or fear of my character stopping if I'm being chased. And one thing I'm going to say while I'm doing this is that there is going to be another game mode. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more game modes coming to this, because I read the tweet from Dying Light 2 and they said they were making a new parkour mini game or something like that. And I am excited to see it, and I will make a live stream off of it. So now that I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and start doing a bit of killing to get the zombies out, to get... What the fuck? Alright, we're good. Alright, level 3. Now that it's level 3, I'm going to show you guys what it means. Volatiles, as you can hear, the volatiles are now coming out a lot faster than before. There is one nearby as we speak. I can hear it. There it is. There's a volatile. See, it comes out right off the bat. It doesn't wait any longer. Which means now you have to worry about the volatiles immediately coming out of hiding and then them coming after you. You can no longer sit back and relax, because there is now no longer a delay in the volatiles. Now if I can get to level 3 and show you guys what level 3 means. Level 3 should be coming up here shortly. And there it is! Level 4 of the chase has now been amplified. So level 4 of the chase is going to be a lot harder from what I've heard. Volatile's already coming out. There's... Oh my lord, that is a lot of them. Okay. Yeah, that is a lot of them. So basically, this is what level 4 looks like. Basically, level 4 is a lot harder than before. And this is what level 4 is supposed to look like. So this is what they mean by level 4 is a lot harder during the night. So the UI/UX improvements. Survivor Sense can now correctly be and can be triggered without any cooldowns after getting hit or performing specific hardcore actions. Which means now the Survivor Sense is a lot more accurate. It's a lot more responsive to when you push the button. And the one thing I didn't show you guys is that whenever you activate Survivor Sense, your hands don't move up and down as much whenever you're looking a certain direction. Alright, improvements to the options menu, information architecture, include a dedicated accessibility tab. So now there's an accessibility tab where you can do a lot more. The QTE hold mode. There's colorblind. Basically, there's a lot more for the accessibility hub. Yes, this is now its own tab where you can go and change whatever you need. Added a feature to show how to dynamically display player health bar, item selector, and time of day display. As you can see on my HUD, everything is a lot more changed and a lot more simplified. Like, you have it on the bottom right, you have the items on the bottom left. It's no longer like lifted, it's actually relaxed on the bottom. And the one thing that you guys did see throughout the live stream is the GRE indicator telling me that there's a GRE zone nearby. That has been changed. In the last patch, it showed up on one side of the area, which was, I think, right above the night cycle. That has been changed because now that's its own little section. It pops up right smack face in the bottom middle of your screen, which allows you to stare directly at it if you need to check. Instead of having to look to another side of the screen, it is now its own little area. It is now its own little area, so if I could find a GRE and not a GRE zone, let me go ahead and do that. I am near one. Yes, over here. So basically, as soon as I enter this zone and I show them, it should pop up as a GRE and when I get out of chase anytime soon. Here it is. Chase ended. So basically, one of the inhibitors is over there. So the minute I step into range, right in the middle of it, you can see that it's now its own little space. It no longer shows up anywhere else. The next thing on the patch notes list is the added the feature to show height. No, that's not it. It is now the dynamic setting for player health bar is the new default and hides the bar when the player is at 100% health. The dynamic setting now gets rid of the health bar whenever you're at 100 health, etc., etc. I don't know if I said this already, so I'm going to say it one more time. Added a feature to show how to dynamically display player health bar, item selector, and time of day indicator. The dynamic setting for player health bar is the new default and hides the bar when the player is at 100% health. The dynamic setting for the item selector is the new default. The item selector becomes visible when in combat and when performing combat actions using the D-pad. The dynamic setting for the time of day indicator is the new default setting. The time of day indicator becomes visible during day/night transitional periods. All of the widgets that are set hidden on dynamic becomes visible in extended HUD, which means now you can see it via the extended HUD. Visual improvements to player HP and stamina bars. As you can see, now the HP stamina bar is a lot different. It does look a lot different, but I think it is still the same in a kind of way. But I could be wrong. I did check my live stream from before, and it does look kind of the same. But it looks a lot more light bluish than the other one. That's my opinion. It looks a lot more light bluish than the other one. Let me know your opinions down below if it looks the same or if it does look a tad bit light bluish to you guys and it looks a bit more easy colored. Let me know down below. The next thing on the list. Visual improvements to the enemy stance meter to more clearly indicate its connection to blunt weapons, which means now the player has a different stance to let you know what weapon it uses or not. Improve the final boss fight. I sadly cannot show you guys this. I already completed the boss battle way before this one came out. To me, it felt kind of fast-paced, but then there was a bit cut. But now there is a lot different things to do with the final boss. When you are going up against the final boss, the first thing I'm going to know is that they have fixed an issue where the opponent does not react correctly to other players and does not change behavior that might lead to several glitches during co-op play, which means now the boss fight should be more fluent, should be more easy to go up against, which means now you will no longer experience any interruptions or glitches that could potentially ruin the boss fight for you or your partner when you're going up against him. The second thing Alternate opponent behaviors in Phase 2 during co-op play, which means now the boss fight will act a lot more different during co-op play, which means he will not do the same attacks over and over. Opponent performs area attacks more frequently during co-op sessions, which means now if you two are grouped together, he will frequently do a lot more AoE attacks, which means you probably should try to change that up a bit. I don't know. Opponent shortening the narrative scenes between the phases in the boss fight. Basically what this means is there will no longer be as much narrative when you're in a boss fight. It should try to keep you in the immersion, but I'm pretty sure there will be cutscenes still. Boss fight pacing improvements, which means now that during the boss fight, the pacing of it feels, I think, a lot more fast-paced, lot more rushing and adrenaline pumping and fucking gotta take this guy down and stuff like that. Outro improvements of the game's ending sequences. Additional in-app game scenes have been added to better align gameplay and outro scenes, which means now what I'm thinking is going to happen is whatever ending you get, there's going to be a lot more different outcomes. Balance swings. Higher rank bows are now more easily accessible at merchants and in the world, which means now you can get bows even after completing the game and the cap, and if you go higher than that. Banshees and chargers now more easily spotted in the infected hordes during the night, which means now there will be a lot more frequent banshees and chargers. Technical improvements in outdoor lighting. As you can see, it does look it does look good, actually, not gonna lie. Improvements to sun shadows, which means now the shadows will look like, well, shadows, and then nothing. It doesn't look a lot rough, it looks smooth. Improvements to motion blur, added intensity and distance blur customization, which means now you can customize the blur distance and or customize how the blur acts, which means you can, if you make it low, it now acts like an actual blur, like you're spinning in circles, which is cool. The brutality pack. Player hits with sharp weapons are now more precise and allow players to chop off body parts of opponents and cut them in half more easily, vertical and horizontally, which means now, if you like to see a little bit of blood, guts, and gore, you can do this. You can now cut any limb off you want, which makes it a lot. It makes it a lot funner. It makes it fun to use sharp weapons because now you can see their heads being chopped off, or you can split them in half. You can do basically anything you want with a sharp weapon, which is pretty cool. I love that. Reworked audio for enemy hit response. Different sounds are played depending on the strength of the hit and damage the player deals, which means now if it's a harder hit, it should be a louder noise, etc. Blood spots on the ground appear when player hits the opponent. Basically what that means now is if you, let's say I do this, blood splatters should be popping up on the ground a lot more, like that. If a player is close to the enemy, during the attack, the opponent's blood will splash on the screen, which means, like I said before, you should be seeing blood if you're right next to them. There it is. Blood will splash on the screen. I don't see it on the screen. It's whatever. I'll just figure it out. Next one is up on the list. A dead enemy is now interacting and reacts accurately to blow to the... It allows... A dead enemy is now interactive and reacts accurately to blows and injuries, which means they would react more accurate, as you can tell. A new effect of bloodstains on the enemy's bodies after a hit, and then the final patch is new blood FX has been added, which, as you can see right here. And then there are numerous more, but I can't see them at the moment. If I do end up finding the rest of the patch notes, I will make another video on this. I hope this was informative for you guys, and most of the patches most of the bugs I ran into have been fixed, and I'm happy about that. Dying Light 2 is going in a great direction. This game is a passion project, and I love these guys so much. I love this game, and seeing how much they worked on it, that was a lot of patches tackled into one single update, which is very cool. So if you guys liked the video, you thought this was informative enough, drop a like. You can go ahead and comment on it. Let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts and opinions on these patches. Let me know if you noticed a few different
We have something
things.
in common. But there's also
So
a
yeah, I
really
hope you guys
big
have a good
difference
day,
between
and
us.
I'll see you guys later.